And you will know my name is the Lord. And I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Groovy.
Hello and welcome to Box Office Pulp. I just realized after I toss out the ladies and gentlemen part. Fuck. I got to go back to writing the intro each time now. I'm going to say it wrong.
You're all inclusive now.
I was thinking that the other day, like, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have the non-binaries included. we gotta jazz this thing up, man. It's fucking old. Welcome to Box Office Pulp.
Ladies, gentlemen, and further.
Ladies, gentlemen, etc., etc. No, that doesn't work either. I don't like that.
That is very dismissive. What is wrong with you, Cody?
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, I'm canceling myself. That was garbage.
I've always liked ladies, gentlemen, and those in betwixt.
I'm not fancy enough for that, but I like where you're at. People of Earth, I bring you a podcast.
Can that be the new, like, gender-neutral greeting? People of Earth, welcome to this convention.
I particularly want to do it like Bonesaw from Spider-Man. That's...
Everything should be done.
Who's ready to hear about a podcast, baby? I don't think he ever said baby in Spider-Man, but I would have liked his character more if he did.
No. Randy was never a baby person.
Like, that makes it sound like he was doing some sort of diaper fetish.
I don't know what he was up to with Miss Elizabeth before they got that divorce.
You know, I don't know if this is the actual start of the episode, so let me try again.
No, it is.
Oh,
it's
fuck.
going
It
to
always is, Cody.
Oh, boy, it's meandering. Anyways, people of Earth, welcome to Box Office Pulp. Your one stop. We'll workshop it. We'll get better.
What
Welcome
about
to
the
Box
people on
Office.
the other planets who are catching this, like that episode of Futurama? Why don't you just say you?
You, particularly you at home. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. It means a lot. I'm smiling right now. You can't really see it through the sound waves. Anyways, welcome to Box Office Pulp, your one-stop podcast for movies, madness, and moxie. I'm your host, Cody. Joining me tonight are my co-hosts, Mike. Say hello, Mike.
You think she used butter for that hand job?
Spoilers. And my other co-host, Jamie. Say hello, Jamie.
You know, I can't say that I've had a theater experience quite as horrific as this, but I did see Hellboy 2 in a nearly empty theater with a guy a few seats down from me eating pickled eggs out of a very large jar he'd somehow smuggled in. So
What?
So this did bring
Who
up
the
some
fuck?
memories.
Who the
What?
fuck eats pickled eggs in a movie theater?
What? Okay. Well, hold on.
Who needs to eat that many pickled eggs?
That you have an
at
emergency
once?
container you take with you? Jamie, hold on. Fuck, man. I don't want to do the rest of the episode. I'm
that in
stuck.
there. Podcast over.
Jamie, folks at home, people of Earth, sovereign men of Mars. No, that doesn't count because I'm back to gender shit. Fuck. This is harder than I thought. Use Spartans. Use guys. Man, fuck this. I have lost the thread. I can't even remember what I was going to say.
What are we
Pickled
here
eggs.
for, Cody? What are we here
Oh,
for?
that was it. Thank you. The pickled eggs and what we're here for. We're here today to talk about the new movie, The Last Matinée, or I believe as the screening we had was named Red Screening. Was it Red Screening?
Red Screening was the original name of it, yeah.
I kind of like Red Screening. I know
I
it's
can't
too late for
decide
them to
which
go
I like.
I
back.
like Red Screening too, especially since this isn't a matinee, but I know Last Matinee just has a better ring to it.
Right, you get the idea much faster. Like, oh, a matinee. It's in a movie theater. Gotcha. Sorry, folks. Before we get too far into that, I swear to God, I'm going to start this episode proper one of these years. We're doing The Last Matinee. It really just came out this week that we're recording the episode. You can find it on Amazon Prime. I believe that you can rent it through Amazon Prime. I think it's included free if you have Showtime. Vinegar Syndrome has a collector's edition Blu-ray of the movie you can go buy right now. I believe it's $25 plus shipping. Comes with a limited edition slipcover that's pretty neat. There's 1,000 left, so don't buy 1,000. I want one for me. And I think you can watch it. What other streaming services it's on?
You can watch it
I believe
on
it's on
Arrow
Arrow.
Video.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's on
That was the one
Arrow
I was missing.
Video. It went up December 1st. It has a couple special features. And you can just try out Arrow for 30 days free, actually. It's a cool service, so you'll
Yeah,
find
I
a lot of
think-
stuff on there.
Oh yeah, they just put on the Yokoi monster movies, which have been like not
Oh, hell,
available
cool.
in any good form for a very long time. So that's really exciting.
I got their Blu-ray set, but that's still really cool for everyone who couldn't get it. Also, speaking of Arrow, The Last Matinee came out on an Arrow Collector's Edition Blu-ray. I believe it's Region 2, Region B locked.
Yeah.
So if you're in England, you can pick that up. Or if you have a region-free player, you're better than me, and you deserve to watch any movie you want. Nothing's stopping you. So that's the sales plug. The movie just came out. We're going to try and do the first half of this episode with minimal spoilers. So if you're curious about the film, want to learn a little bit more about it, listen to us. We'll warn you when this segment is ending and we transfer into full spoilers, and you can jump ship then.
Yes. Also, just a self-plug, if you go to horrormovieshub.com, there's also a spoiler-free review by yours truly on there if you want to read a little bit more.
Mike, why didn't you just read your review in the episode? Then I wouldn't have to make any notes. I could have saved myself from a really bad 5-minute stumbling opening.
I could, but I don't like dramatically reading my own words.
What if we re-record this episode, I dramatically play some bongos and introduce you, and then you read it like it's a spoken word poem?
Oh, snap.
Do you own bongos?
I like Jamie's idea. We got snapping.
You didn't answer the question. Do you own bongos?
No, I don't. You got me. I don't. I would get
Really?
bongos.
You strike me as a Donkey Kong kind of guy.
You know, I never actually played that Donkey Kong. I was very jealous of everyone who had them, and just never got on board. Never got the what game was that? It was Donkey Kong, like Busted Drum or something stupid.
It was
I can't
literally
remember.
called Donkey Kong, I believe.
Oh, Conga, right? Yep.
More of a
Anywho.
Lanky Kong to me.
I don't want to talk about Donkey Kong because it's just gonna it just so many flashbacks to me dying millions of times in mine carts, and I can't handle that right now.
Oof, Ryan, those rhinoceroses.
I need good vibes. We're going back to the murder movie. Anyways, folks, The Last Matinee. We're gonna describe it. I swear to God, we're getting there. We're getting there.
We're giving them buffers for the spoilers.
It is Spanish language, subtitled. I'm assuming the DVD releases are the same, so make sure you're ready for some subtitles. Directed by Maximiliano Contenti, a name I honestly did not think was real the first time I read it, because I thought it was a play on Max
Pretty
Content.
awesome name, though.
It's a cool name, but I'm like, oh, that seems like an alias. Boy. I'm just jealous because people look at my name like, oh, that's a shitty name, not even like a fake name. That's just bad. You should change that. You should be Maximiliano.
I mean, you should.
Anyways, this is an international co-production of Uruguay and Argentina, and it is kind of a loving homage to the giallo films of the past and the slasher films of the 80s. I would say it's a slasher film wearing a giallo overcoat. Mike and I discussed this a little earlier. I think he's on my side with that. So if you love giallo, you're going to see a lot of references that you're probably going to dig. But if you're going in hoping for a slasher with a lot more gore, I think you're going to be really pleased. This operates much more like a slasher than it does a murder mystery.
Very much so. Contenti called it a love letter to both the giallos he grew up loving and the slasher movies he grew up loving. I would constitute it as a neo giallo, but it's definitely split pretty firmly down the middle. There's a lot of giallo DNA in it, and one of the things I liked about it is it's not obtuse DNA. Like, it's not just the trappings of a giallo, which I think is what pushes it more towards slasher in a lot of ways. Is outside of, you know, the killer being gloved and all that, a lot of it's just vibe and feeling and like camera work or music, but then with a lot of like traditional slasher on top of it, and a little bit of Euro slasher that's outside of the giallo realm, like a lot of British slasher. I would say.
I definitely see that.
I would say maybe the best way is think of a triple header. You start with Barbarian Sound Studio, then you move to The Editor, and then you finish with The Last Matinee. And I think you kind of get the trajectory of what we're going for here.
Yeah, that actually sounds pretty accurate.
It's a movie, not about movies, but set in movie theaters, so you have those trappings all around it. There's a lot of blood. It's very, very gory. The kills are big kills. They must have put most of the money, I think, probably in blood and guts, which is fantastic. I loved watching those bits. I had a third thing. It's gone. It's gone.
It's got a good ratio of gore where it's not.
You know what I was going to mention. The main thing, Mike, I think besides the gore, Mike, I don't know why this left my mind. Very horny. I would say a very horny film.
It's a very horny movie. It's definitely it's from Uruguay. It's definitely.
I think that's honestly something missing from a lot of modern day slashers.
You're not horny anymore, yeah.
There's a lot less nudity to start.
Cheeky about it.
Right,
Like, remember how horny the old slashers were? Like they're not truthfully horny.
It's like an ironic horny. This one, the characters are all very horny, and you don't see. I don't think there's any actual nudity involved, is there?
No.
Is that a spoiler?
You see cum.
You see cum. That's the spoiler.
Yeah, but I'm not spoiling where it comes from, so now the audience has to be on the lookout. I don't know where the cum's flying.
That's a second mystery for you to try to figure out.
God, I hate the mental image of surprise cum. I don't like the idea of it just being flung at me like fucking Silence of the Lambs. I don't like the path we've gone down here. Anyways, let's just leave it as...
That's the new version of the nail on the staircase from The Quiet Place. It's the new movie trope. You never know when the cum's flying.
I hate it. I don't know how much more I want to say without ruining the movie, because I think it's pretty straightforward. It's a fun romp. It's an homage to all the stuff you like from the 80s horror-wise. Very bloody. Characters want to do each other. I think that about covers the bases.
It's got some good inventiveness. Like I was saying with the...
Oh, it doesn't look like a $2 project either.
Yeah.
Not at all. It looks really pretty sleek. And while it doesn't have a lot of kills, and I would have liked to have seen some more, the ones that are there have personality for the most part. And I don't know, the way they're done is not always unique, but often has like a really good, masterful amount of tension, I think. Like the first kill, which obviously I won't spoil, but is maybe my favorite because of the way it's done, even though you don't see this overly gory effect. Also, one last little bit here on the technical side. Very solid throwback score, kind of a synthy 80s-ish score. One of the things that drives me absolutely nuts, you don't get it as much now as you did in like 90s movies, but when a 90s horror movie was low budget, it was like one guy with a Casio keyboard that was supposed to be playing like the trumpets and everything, and it sounded so cheap and fake. I'm really glad now that a single producer can make a whole score that actually sounds complete and full. So everything about this movie doesn't scream cheap to me, which I love. I mean, I'm sure this was not a $50 million movie at all. So the fact they can kind of dress it up and make it look like a bigger production is wonderful.
Well, it does help that it was filmed in a ludicrously spectacular theater. That is a real theater.
That was? I assumed it was just kind of like sets or like some borrowed warehouse they dressed up.
No, that was the theater the director went to as a kid.
Oh, that's amazing. Did they actually film? So it
actually looks like the theater itself almost looks like an effect, but it's like a 1,000-seater theater.
Wow. So in the movie, it's set. This is actually a period piece. It's 1993 in Montevideo. Was it actually filmed in the town it takes place in, or was that just? Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, it's actually technically it's sort of two theaters. The one where the indoor box office is a separate theater because I guess that one had a little bit more room for the scenes they were particularly filming. Everything else, though, is that specific theater.
Neat. Huh. We learn something new every day. All right, folks, we've just started geeking out about theaters, which is a pretty good sign. We should move on to spoilers. I think everyone got the spoiler-free junk out of the reins.
Spoilers. This is The Last Matinée.
Ooh. Anyways, thank you, folks who are leaving now because you're afraid of spoilers. Come back after you've seen the movie and listen to us talk for like another 10 minutes. I swear it's not going to be all cum jokes this time. I promise. All right, they're gone. All cum jokes. It's all cum jokes. I was lying. It's nothing but cum jokes from here on out.
Everything is always nothing but cum jokes.
What a great year for cinematic hand jobs. I'm just thinking between this and Green Knight, it's been a big comeback. When was the last time you actually saw Jism in a non-porno release? I'm thinking like There's Something About Mary That's
Harold and
quite a ways back.
Kumar escaped from Guantanamo Bay. That was some
Okay.
thick frothy cum.
That's a ways back, though.
Let's isolate that.
Please do.
Boy, I can't help but derail the episode by talking about cum shots. Man.
Go on.
Go on. No, so we mentioned before the movie is very horny, and that's one of the things that surprises me. We have a character who gets a handjob in the theater, as Mike alluded to with the buttered hands comment at the very start. We have two kids who are ferociously making out when they get impaled through both of their faces, which to me is the highlight of the kills. That one is my personal favorite. Anytime you have a kill where it's two people making out or naked together, it's like the most scary and uncomfortable to me. Because that's like ultimate vulnerability, right? You don't have even underwear on to protect your dignity or anything, and someone impales you to the other person you're getting on with. Classic stuff. Especially this one when it's through the heads. They're so busy making out they don't notice the masked man standing behind them with like an 8-foot pole.
This movie has so much glorious eyeball violence. It's basically the recurring motif of the film.
They went big on the eyeballs. It's all over the marketing stuff too. The Vinegar Syndrome slipcase for the movie has like a giant eye in the place of where the projector would be, and like a glow behind it, and then the killer's silhouette in front of the eyeball, followed by 2 more eyeballs underneath the title. They're big on eyes. Bad, dumb confession on my part. Starting the movie, when the killer pulls out his glass of pickled eyes, I just was like, oh man, that's gross. Dude's eating fucking pickles before the movies. Did not occur to me that it was eyeballs until the end of the film when the jar makes its reappearance. I was just like, oh fuck, oh those aren't pickles at all.
That's what you're supposed to think. It's okay. Cody.
Yeah, that's what triggered all those fucking pickled egg memories.
I did briefly think when he was doing that, I wonder if those are eyeballs. Nah, he's probably just eating pickles.
I was just thinking, like, man, I have never in my life carried pickles around with me. My first thought actually was I thought he was going to piss in the jar. I thought it was a jar of piss. Then I was like, oh, it's pickles. I.
Grandma's peach tea.
So one thing I wanted to get into, but it would probably be spoiler city, so we're saving it for now, is the definition of, is this a slasher, is this a giallo? I think we've kind of settled on just calling it a neo-giallo, but in my mind, it's just definitely a slasher. And the breaking factor for me is the killer here doesn't get like a dramatic reveal where they pull off his hood and it's like, oh shit, it's the former projectionist who's secretly your dad. There's no interpersonal drama about this dude. He is a nutso that just comes to the theater to murder everyone there.
He's just a roaming killer.
Classic. Yeah, he's a slasher. He's more Jason Voorhees than he is Ghostface.
I really appreciate their resistance to do any kind of theater-based branding with this killer. Like, I love how there's, other than like the eyeball fixation, there's not really any kind of novelty factor to him, which makes him all the more terrifying.
Yeah, I'm trying to think through the kills. It's not like he murders someone with a stretch of film or something, right? Like he doesn't put someone in the popcorn maker.
He does some inventive like kills that give him some personality that almost feel like mini art projects. Like probably one of my second favorite has to be when he kills the dude smoking.
Oh
he
yeah,
pulls
that's
the neck back so all the smoke billows out. He's having fun with it.
That
was a really cool effect.
That kill made me hop up and down in my seat like a 5-year-old because I've never seen that.
It's a great effect. Man, yeah. I think that's going to get most people on the movie side right there. It's a very straightforward but inventive kill. And that's one of my main problems with current day slashers too, is a lot of time when people get slashed, it's over and over, okay, they got stabbed with a knife and they bleed a lot. Or it's something maybe on the Jigsaw side where it's so elaborate you have to spend like 20 minutes watching the person die in the trap because it was expensive. This I like. It's inventive, but also fairly straightforward, so you get the best of both worlds. You don't just have the same kills over and over. You get to really slice and dice everyone in a unique way. As long as I'm talking about the slicing and dicing, though, I could not stop laughing. The killer, like when he does the bathroom kill, is using a retractable toy knife. I had the same model as a child. It's like a $2.95 knife. It's the cheapest thing in the world, and they have repainted it to look realistic and just Foleyed the fuck out of this thing. I had that exact knife. I swear to God, I could not stop laughing. It's like, oh yeah, fuck. They probably went through 50 of those things on set because they would crack in half from the spring being too strong.
Now you can be the eyeball killer.
You could be the eyeball killer. It just like go to the next magic show you can find, and they're probably selling those and like those little revolvers that say bang and have a little flag pop out.
Just to jump ahead for a minute, when he reveals the eyeballs
Yes.
in the jar and swirls them around and
He's got to get a good one.
takes a bite threateningly. I want an entire franchise with this dude.
The
Come
eyeball
back
kid.
undead or something.
I mean, that would really cement it as a slasher if he was undead. I like the supernatural aspect. Like he could just appear in any theater and start pulling eyeballs out.
As soon as the projector turns on, it's like Dr. Killjoy from The Suffering.
I think it's kind of like a Victor Crowley thing. Instead of haunting the bayous of the South, he's just like dilapidated theaters pulling eyeballs out of people that, you know, are too busy making out instead of watching the film. And make it, okay, Mike, we have it set in the current day. Anytime someone pulls their cell phone out and the movie is playing, fucking, as soon as they go to the bathroom, eyeballs out.
As soon as they go to the bathroom, eyeballs out. That just sounds like a weird rule.
That sounds like a rejected VHS sketch. From like VHS 1.
There could be another VHS after 94. We'll save it. We'll save it. Cut that part out of the episode. So I really love the kills here. I don't want to go through all of them. There's not a huge number, but I want to leave some surprises, I guess, if people are listening through to this point. But the steamy throat slice was definitely the coolest looking one. The one I loved the most was the pull through the two lovers. The killer having to perform surgery on his own face. Whew.
That was so good. That was very Terminator-esque.
Yes. I'll say, okay, when it comes to facial wounds, there's a couple of spots that'll always make me squeam. One, anything with the eye. I think that's universal. Nobody wants their eyes to get messed with. It just, ugh. They seem squishy. I don't want stuff poking into them. Ugh. And two is the teeth. This movie didn't do anything with the teeth, but anytime there's a film where like a character has a tooth ripped out or like something scraping against teeth, yeah, nails on a chalkboard. It's bad. So if you can work either one of those into your horror movie, you're doing something right.
I mean, he's biting an eyeball with teeth.
Yeah. I mean,
He's
unless
biting
that's
what
like,
might be his eyeball, which is my favorite part.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a gag where he kills someone with a glass eye and accidentally chips a tooth.
Oh, that's how they defeat him, with a sting. With the FBI agents from Jason Goes to Hell.
I'm just saying it's like a Wile E. Coyote sketch, and he doesn't realize the eyeball is actually painted TNT, like a hand grenade or something.
Poisonous gas comes out. Oh.
To get back to a conversation we started earlier, boy, I like red screening because if you made that actually like an Italian title, I bet that sounds dope as hell.
It looks
I'm just
very
thinking,
impressive
like,
on a poster.
It does.
It
But
does,
like,
yeah.
okay, so to me, the best Giallo title is Deep Red, and it's even better in the original Italian, the Profondo Rosso. Like that sounds cool as hell, right? Profound Red. I'm just saying, you slap some. I know this movie isn't Italian in any way, but it's an homage to it. In the title, hold on here. We've got the internet in front of us. I'm going to do a live Google Translate, see if this is cool or not.
We have the internet here on the show with us tonight. Give them a round of applause, guys.
I brought him in.
To make it really legit, they should have it where in Italy it's red screening, and then everywhere else it's the Last Matinee.
And in some regions, it's Evil Dead 6.
This is actually a demons film, interestingly enough.
Speaking of, it was amazing seeing the Evil Dead 2 VHS skull like in its original context in a movie.
Oh, and also it cracked me up because I kept seeing the opera poster in the background. Like I didn't even pay attention to the other two posters that were next to it. They could have been fake posters, but they kept showing opera.
I appreciate the director just wearing it on his sleeve.
Well, it's really interesting to me because he's clearly tapping more, I would say, into the Giallo aesthetics than he is the slasher side of things. The movie functions as a slasher, but it looks like a Giallo. And no, there's nothing wrong with that, but it makes sense because this is an Italian production. Why should he have to operate by the exact same rules of a genre that's essentially been dead for 30 years?
Yeah, it's very different storytelling rules. And I would like to see more stuff like that. I think that's one of its strengths, and one of the reasons I loved it so much is it has this has like the curtain of a giallo, but everything behind it is a slasher, and that is a really cool mix. You've never really seen very often, in very rare circumstances.
Well, and not just that. There's also a lot of like sincere teen movie, like dramedy going on here. I think we both had the same reaction afterwards. We were talking about it. I'm like, was that like a slasher movie version of Can't Hardly Wait?
It does take a while to get to the actual murders because you got to set up the fact that everyone is kind of horny and lonely, and honestly, that's most of the connection between these people. Or it's the stuff like, oh, there's a kid who doesn't want to get caught because he's sneaking into the theater, or a crazy old guy who's just hanging around.
Earth 2, Jonah Hill is there.
Yeah. Well, you end up. God, that was very distracting.
I'm never gonna be able to not see that now, Jamie.
Good.
What what I really love that Contenti did was, and it would have been very easy to like make this purely a, hey, weren't giallos and slashers cool? But a lot of that is just window dressing at the end of the day. Like that's the starting off point, it's the jumping off point. He really makes the movie its own thing on top of that. So Last Matinee is able to sit beside all of those other films kind of as equals instead of being like another throwback.
Yeah, something that's pure homage or throwback, I don't think ever really lives. If you divorce it from the
It's
context of
fun,
the
but
original,
doesn't have staying power.
right? You kind of forget about. You might watch it after you watch the original that it's inspired by, just as kind of a novelty.
Yeah.
It takes a lot more to take whatever they're doing originally and add enough twist and spark to it to be exciting on its own. I just finished
And one of the
reading
best ways-
You Got Red on You, so I've got Shaun of the Dead on the mind, which did
Yeah.
a much, much bigger, higher, loftier goal. Shaun of the Dead is on a different platform than pretty much every movie. But that started off, it could have easily just been a zombie movie. And instead, it brought in the idea of, okay, what if it's a romantic comedy on top of being a zombie film, on top of being an homage to George Romero's stuff? And you end up with something that's, fuck, I would watch that along with all the Romero films and consider it an equal. I'm
Yeah.
not saying this
And
is
actually,
the same caliber as Deep Red or Urban Legend or anything, but it's still very enjoyable. I think fans are going to have a great time with this film.
I think bringing up Shaun of the Dead is like almost a comparison to how the homage is handled is pretty apt, because I think Contenti and Wright kind of attacked it from the same regard, which is like this is where this comes from, but also unlike those other films that just focus on the homages and, hey, weren't these other movies really good? They also come at characters. There's actual characters populating these movies, and that added a nice additional thrill, I think, to The Last Matinee, in that you never actually knew who was going to die next, and it really gave a good feeling of no one's actively safe at any point. Like I was surprised about who ends up being there at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And who dies in what order, because each character is kind of treated equally as the main character. And I think I joked about this in my written review, but you could strip like all the horror elements out and it's like a coming of age type story set in a late night theater screening like in the 90s, and everyone figures themselves out that night. Like it has that kind of vibe going for it, and every character is, no matter how, you don't get to know all of them personally, they all feel very fleshed out, and you're actually kind of interested in what's happening with each one when you check in.
I will say there's a little bit of a gift and curse to that, though, because we get all these characters, and because there's a decent number of them, most of them have to die, we don't get a huge amount of time to stick with them or resolve some of their stories. Most of them in the end are fodder. So you kind of have these threads that just get chopped loose. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't feel as tight as it could be. I don't know. I wouldn't call it sloppy, but I would say it's designed to feel a little bit more nebulous, just kind of loosey-goosey.
Yeah, it's almost an impossible task, but I also do think it adds a little bit more to like, oh, that character died, because you were kind of interested in seeing where shit was going.
Well, everyone gets limited time, so everyone feels like the main character until they die.
Yeah.
Like the guy in the bathroom wiping the jizz off his jeans. During his death scene, he feels like the main character. So when he bites it, you're kind of like, oh, okay, I guess he's not the main character.
Yeah,
Or,
Anna?
Oh, go ahead.
I would say, well, Anna seems like the immediate choice for the standard slasher survivor girl protagonist whenever she comes in. Like, she's the daughter of the rejectionist. She has all these little nods that, like, okay, we're going to follow her story. and then she's mostly irrelevant for a good chunk of the film.
Yeah, she's in the projection booth, so she's really sidelined for almost the entirety of the film. I mean, even like she's got a thing going. Like, I was always really surprised, like, her dad didn't come back into play because they took the time to introduce that character and his ailments and their relationship briefly, and then he just wanders off into the night. So that's the kind of stuff where I would say, it could be a little tighter. It does provide some good character stuff, but it feels very
It adds
strange.
good color, though. Like, it makes the movie feel like it exists outside of itself, which is little touches I often appreciate in any genre. Really, is just I like how it does feel like when a character walks off, they keep going even if we don't see them again.
My comparison would be in Jaws when Quint takes his machete and slams it against the side of the orca, and there's that close-up of it kind of wobbling against the side of the ship.
Machete.
I really am. I'm going to keep bringing it up until Steven Spielberg remakes the movie and corrects this.
Makes
you see that machete, and in my mind, it just becomes foreshadowing. Like, oh, he's going to use that later against the shark, and then it doesn't matter. Like, it's not. It's a non-starter, which isn't a criticism against what Spielberg's doing, but the perception he creates in my mind distracts me and puts me down the wrong path. I feel that way with some of the characters and settings in this film. Like, they will set up an idea and then not necessarily capitalize on it. Does it make it bad filmmaking? No, but it means my expectations were pulled in one direction, and then I was kind of left hanging in the end.
Hanging,
Mike,
like that dude's eyeball?
Oh, Mike, can we just make our own version of Jaws where we can finally use the machete?
Like with what? Like cardboard and tape?
Like, I'll be this version of Quint, and I'll accidentally like chop my leg off while trying to escape the shark using it, and then people will be like, oh, it all comes full circle. He can't swim now if only he had life jackets. Maybe they could just like CGI out the machete and put in like a big walkie-talkie in its place, like E.T.
I already made that joke. Also, can I play the shark?
I was going to say yes, and I thought, is this getting too close to vor porn?
No, I'm just imagining Mike as one of those big shark dudes from that Katy Perry Super Bowl halftime show review. Just waving around in like in a very crappy like swimming pool we've put a small raft in.
Jamie will compromise
I was imagining
and call this a live adaptation of Street Sharks
and shit like that, and just make the shape of a shark.
Oh, I like that. It's more based on what you don't see.
True.
Yeah, it's an imagination
own game by not having a shark.
It's like
Jamie,
Muppet
I thought
Babies.
you were trying to wrap the episode up with that little bit of what you don't see pun.
No,
I
already mentioned the dangling eyeball. That was my out, and you wasted it.
I thought we were doing some eye
do you think
transition.
the eyeballs taste good?
I
like fish eyes, so I imagine I'd probably like eyeballs.
I don't think I've ever eaten an animal's eyes, so I have no idea what it tastes like. I imagine it's mostly
Good amount of vitamin E.
Like a gusher, right? Like kind of a tough membrane on the outside and then gooey on the end.
A little bit, yeah.
Folks at home, if you've ever eaten a human eyeball, one, please don't ever come to my house. You scare me. Two, please do tell me on Twitter because I'm very curious. You can find me on Twitter at BopWatch1, the number. See how fucking smooth that was? I want an award. That was ooh,
that
nice.
was Jesus Christ. That was sliding into some pussy right there.
Mike, you're going to be so happy editing the end of this episode. It's one that'll actually maybe end.
I'm going to have to do no work for once.
Mike, what's your Twitter handle?
It's funny you should ask, Cody.
Tell the eyeball
I was
kid.
just thinking about what my Twitter handle was so I could tell the folks at home. It's Lucky Deck Napier.
Jamie, round us out.
You can find me at Mondo Funky.
And if you don't want to talk to an individual person, because that's scary, there is at Box Office Pulp. If you just want to talk to the nebulous show, you don't know which one of us you're getting. You're just spinning the wheel, baby.
Oh, actually, the show itself tweets. It's a lie.
It saw a virus too many times, and now it really just wants to kill Jamie Lee Curtis and tweet. That's all it wants.
I mean, I do agree that man is the true virus.
Correct. Anyways, this has been Box Office Pulp.
Hat.
Damn it, Mike! I'm trying to end the show here. Now I have to talk about his hat.
Also, can I just bring up one more trivia point about Last Matinee, though?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I mean, most people at this point are if they look into the film. But if for anyone listening who's not aware, who watched the film, the killer is actually played by a director who made the movie they are watching inside the movie.
Ooh.
So there's actually, if you take that into account, there's a really interesting meta thing going on that it's fun to rewatch the movie like with that in mind. Like it's
Well, the whole idea of a killer
don't
in a
really
theater who
know-
takes eyes and, the whole watching back and forth thing, you can make a lot out of that. Now that I know the
you can make
killer is
lot out
actually
of
a
it. It's a lot
director
of fun.
who was behind the screen making the film that's on the screen, watching it from the other side of the screen that we're watching. Oh my God, it boggles the mind. There's so many layers.
And Michael Berryman's driving him around, and he doesn't have eyelids. And I've crossed movies over. I'm sorry.
Oof. Anyways, next time on New York Ninja. I'm so mad, Mike. I had such a smooth out, and then we got pulled back in. Folks, this
I like
is
how you brought up New York Ninja.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about more later. I can't even grammatically structure a sentence. I'm so excited about New York Ninja. Box office pulp, good. Show done. Audience bye is how I now sign off from things. Folks, if you enjoyed this episode, we have many more that are not just reviews, but whole featured commentaries. We have episodes just talking about general film topics or new release films, old release films. We cover the whole gamut. You can find us at boxofficepulp.com. We've already told you our Twitters. If you want to follow the podcast, leave us a review. We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher.
Amazon
Facebook.
Podcast.
I never remember that one. You just got to say it.
Amazon Podcast.
Why are you reading it like the library?
Amazon Podcasts.
You have 10 unread books. Folks, thank you so much for joining us. Folks, does folks count? Folks has to be like
I like
pretty
folks.
inclusive, right?
I think you should go with folks.
Folks, I've been doing that so long it'd be easy to continue doing. Yeah, I learned something this episode. Anyways, that's a wrap, folks. See, I used it. Right there.
And like that, he's gone.
Can you please end all future episodes with "show done"?
Show
Just-
done.
You just close out the Skype window.
I mean, I'm really mad because I looked up the English to Italian translation of red screening and I never had a time to actually say it. I have an Italian friend. I'm gonna have to be like, Leo, could you what the fuck am I saying here? And he'd be like, oh, sure. Proizona Rosa, which actually does not sound cool. I'm glad they did not do red screening.
Prozona Rosa.
Prozona Rosa.
Prozona sounds good.
Proiezone.
Prozona Rosa.
I don't know. I don't like it. It's no profondo.
Profondo.
Profound red. What a cool name, right? That's a cool name.
Screaming metal.
Cool name.
Ricotta.
New York Ninja. Cool name. Wait a minute. Do you think the Italians have their own word for ninja?
I think it's Ninja.
Ninja di New York. New York Ninja. Yeah, it's just ninja. That's boring.
Yeah.
No.
Thanks for ending this on a downer note.
This is Box Office Pulp Guy, and this has been a Pulp Podcast production. Now please, 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 put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and say goodnight.
And now, on with the show.